Hello and welcome to another episode of Financial Aid Fridays. We hope everybody had a fantastic week. I know I enjoyed a little bit of sun and it was a nice warm day today. My name is Jessica Hickernell.
And my name is Simon Furland. Thank you all for joining us. Now, before we begin, Jess and I would like to take a moment to tell you a little bit more about what to expect with this series.
Yeah, so Financial Aid Fridays is a series of webinars that our office, the Office of Student Financial Aid, we host covering all manners of different topics related to financial aid and billing information and really other topics that we think are really important for incoming students to know. So we host these episodes every Friday. We are going to have an episode every Friday in July. And they're all going to be at 6 p.m. So make sure you tune into those throughout the month.
That's right. Now, we want this to be an interactive experience. We want to hear from you. That's right, you, right there, watching. So if you have questions, if you have comments, please take a moment. Go ahead and post them directly onto the Facebook link if you're watching from Facebook, or into the comments section if you're watching from YouTube. Or if you don't have a YouTube account and want to send us an email, you can do that as well to the email listed below. And we do have staff monitoring for those questions, those comments. We'd love to be able to take some time to answer some of those on the air.
Yeah, so for those of you who did join us and watch our episodes in June, welcome back and buckle up for another exciting month of Financial Aid Friday topics. For those of you who this is your first time joining us live, if you did not catch those episodes in June, we did record them, and they are actually posted right on our website at umaine.edu/stuaid. So definitely check those out. You can get caught up. We've covered topics like going over the financial aid award letter, estimating your expenses, and talking about additional financing options.
Excellent. Now, Jess, you and I, we've gone through a lot of different topics in this series. What is it that we have in store for folks here tonight?
Oh, Simon, I say it every time. Buckle up, okay? Because this is an exciting one tonight. We are going to be talking about managing your Main Street account and your student bill. We're actually calling this episode the Student Bill Part 1. So we are going to go over some important how-tos today that you're going to need to complete before you actually get to campus in the fall, just to make sure your student bill is in a good place to start classes. Then next week, actually, Simon, I'm going to give us a little preview of what we're in store for next week. We're doing student bill Part 2. And we're actually going to be taking a deep dive into that student bill, letting you know what to expect, what to look for, and really next steps as well.
Excellent, excellent. And given tonight's topic, we actually have a special guest joining us here this evening from the Bursar's office. Welcome, Sam. Thank you for joining us here tonight. And why don't you take a moment and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at the Bursar's office?
Sure, thanks for having me. My name is Samantha Brown, and I'm the assistant bursars in the Bursar's office, and I focus primarily on student billing and student refunds.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Sam, for joining us. Before we actually jump into each of the different topics that we want to touch on tonight, I do want to direct everybody to the Bursar's office website. So that is umaine.edu/Bursar, B-U-R-S-A-R. So on that website, there's actually an entire section called How-Tos. And you can actually follow along. There's written instructions for everything that we're going over tonight. So definitely you can use that as an additional resource. So the first thing that we are going to go ahead and get started with is the topic of reporting anticipated resources. So Sam, can you go ahead and give us a quick overview of what anticipated resources is?
Sure. So the anticipated resources section of your Main Street account allows you to report funding that will be coming to you or to your student bill, but that isn't going to be received by the university before the due date of your bill. That would be funding like employer payments or third-party payments, scholarships, tuition waivers, or alternative loans. Reporting these funds, if they're to be coming before or after the bill is due, allows you to avoid a late fee as long as the funding you're reporting is as much as your bill due.
Yeah, so basically it's just letting us know about it before it's actually in the system, right?
Right.
Perfect, perfect. So if you will all turn your attention to, we actually have a screen grab here of the Main Street account up in front of you on your screen there. We're going to go ahead and just take a little walkthrough on how you go about actually doing this. So once you've actually signed in to your Main Street account and navigated to your student center, you're going to go ahead and select the compass icon in the upper right hand corner. Now that's going to open up a little sub menu where you will select Navigator. And once that opens up, you then want to go into, oh, we need to navigate back here, into self-service, into that section, and then into campus finances. There we go. So here you have the link for anticipated resources. So that'll bring you to the actual spot in the system where you'll be able to actually enter the information that Sam has mentioned here. Now, if you've applied to multiple system schools, you may see University of Maine, and in this case we have in our example University of Southern Maine. So you want to, of course, select University of Maine in this example. And once you've done that, now in some instances it may not immediately be available if it's not if it's locked for a particular reason, but you would select what term it's actually for in this particular spot. Once you have clicked on that particular term, it will then take you to the screen where you're able to enter in the specific amounts. So you'll be able to indicate what type of anticipated resource that you're actually reporting to us and the amount, and then you're able to just hit update and save. So doing that combination of steps will actually initiate this process and let the Bursar's office know about that particular resource. Did I get all that right, Sam?
Sounds right to me.
All right, perfect, perfect. So next up, we're going to shift gears here. The next item is submitting student authorization. Sam, can you tell us what that is?
Sure. So submitting your student authorization allows you to give the university permission to use your federal financial aid to cover charges other than tuition, fees, and room and board. So for example, if you got a parking ticket or you had a main card replacement charge on your account, you could authorize the university to use your federal financial aid to pay on those charges. You can also, in this section, you can also request that a credit balance that's on your account be held on your account for future terms or future charges instead of receiving a refund of that.
Great, and it's definitely a tool to make managing your financial aid and your refunds much easier. So we're actually going to go ahead and jump back into Main Street here and walk you through that process on how to submit that student authorization. So we are going to go ahead and click on that compass icon, and then we're going to click on Navigator, and then again we're going to go to Campus Finances. First it's self-service, then campus finances, sorry folks. And then we're going to go ahead and click on student authorization. And then again, you're going to want to click the University of Maine. And then this is going to bring you to the screen where you're actually selecting those items to authorize that Sam just mentioned. So that first one is going to be to allow financial aid funds to cover any charges on the account. So to allow that, you would just check the box. And then the second line is what authorizes any credit refunds to be held on your account. So you would check those boxes and then click that submit button, and you have submitted your student authorization. Okay, so I think the next thing we'll talk about is enrolling in direct deposit. Sam, can you go ahead and walk us through that process?
Absolutely. So enrolling in direct deposit is a really simple process. You're basically going to set up a direct deposit profile where you will enter in an active bank account for where you would like your student refund to go. We encourage students to do this because it's the most secure and the quickest way to receive your refunds. And I think Jess is going to show you how to set that up now.
Yeah, I'll take that over. Sorry, Jess. So you would navigate again to your student center, and then from here, there's actually, you'll notice about halfway down, there's a finances section. And on the left of that section, there are several links, one of which says direct deposit. So we'll go ahead and select that. And it may just take a moment here to load the next page. But on the next page, you'll see whether or not you've already established your direct deposit account. And in this example, we have a student that has not actually established that. So we'll go ahead and select Enroll in Direct Deposit. And that'll actually take you to the screen where you would enter in all of your banking information, the routing number, the account number, what type of account it is, if it's checking or savings. I would go ahead and do that, but I'd rather not share all of my banking information live here tonight. So I think I'll skip past that. But normally you type in that information and just hit next, and it will go ahead and save that information in the account for those potential refunds. Okay, so next up, man, Jess, we are flying through tonight's topics.
We are.
Let's go ahead and shift gears to the financial responsibility statement. Now, that's something that we get a lot of questions about, and some of you who are watching here tonight may know what I'm talking about because you might have seen it right on your student center as a hold, an item on that page. So, Sam, why don't you tell us what this particular item is?
Sure. So the financial responsibility statement is a legal agreement between the university and the student, which kind of outlines the student's financial responsibility, and it ensures that the student understands their financial commitment when they're registering for classes here at the university. And it's something that needs to be done every single semester prior to enrolling. It's kind of what allows you to enroll in the classes.
Yeah, so just to clarify, if you have not done that financial responsibility statement yet, you will not be able to register for that semester. So that's why this is a very important piece of the financial aid and billing processes. You want to make sure you get this done so you can actually enroll in your courses for the semester. So we are going to go ahead and walk through the process of completing this financial responsibility statement. We're just going to have Main Street get loaded up here. We're going to start right from our student center again. So you're going to see, and this is just still loading up here. So you are going to see financial responsibility statement in two places. That first place is in the hold section. Now this is just to let you know that you haven't done the financial responsibility statement yet, and you won't be able to enroll in courses until you've actually completed that. Now, the part where you actually, complete the item is going to be located under your to-do list. So on this example here, down at the bottom of the to-do list, there's an actual link for financial responsibility for the fall 2020 semester. So you can actually go ahead and click on that link. And that's going to bring you to the page once it loads here. Give it a little time. There we go, it's thinking about it. So this is going to load the actual, that contract language, that responsibility language that Sam was talking about. It's going to be important that you read through it. There's a lot of information there, but again, it's going to be important that you read through that. It's still loading here, I promise it's going to show up. You're going to read through it in that gray box, and then down at the bottom there is an accept button. You're going to check that button, and then you'll be able to save this page. And actually, once you do this, it should not take very long for this to actually be taken off of your to-do list. So it's all an automatic process. Once you actually submit this, it will automatically come off of your to-do list and off of that hold list. Okay, well, I think we are ready to enter into our final topic, and this is actually a pretty big topic. Simon, I think you can agree that we get a lot of questions about this particular one. So we are going to go ahead and talk about student health insurance. So just a little intro here. At the University of Maine, all students are required to have be covered with some sort of health insurance. So Sam, can you go ahead and walk us through the billing aspect of the university health insurance and the process for that?
Sure. So like you said, all students have to maintain adequate health insurance. So for all undergrad students who are enrolled in 9 or more credits, they have to have health insurance, whether it be their own or the universal. All students in 9 or more credits in the health insurance plan. Students starting in the fall will be charged the annual health insurance plan, which is a coverage from August 1st through July 31st of the next year. And that will be billed to the student account in the amount of $2,264. And then we also offer a spring coverage. So if you're starting in the spring, the coverage is at a prorated amount. It's $1,314 for a shorter time frame of coverage. And there is a waiver, of course, for this. So if you already have adequate health insurance, then you can opt to fill out the online waiver form. The deadline for waiving for the annual health insurance is October 1st of 2020, and for the spring insurance, it's February 20th of 2021.
Great. And so what I would recommend in this process is if you do plan on waiving the university health insurance because you have your own coverage already, I would recommend doing that as soon as possible. And Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, if they do that before bills are even calculated, that charge for the 2264 won't even show up on the bill. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So bills aren't, there's no charges on the accounts yet. So doing that, for the next couple of days, the charge won't even show up on the account.
Yeah. So I would definitely recommend completing this waiver as soon as possible. So Simon, do you want to go ahead and walk us through the actual process and show our viewers how to actually do that waiver process?
I would love to. And just a quick follow-up on that. If for some reason you've done the waiver and the bill comes out and you notice the charge on that bill, it could be a timing thing. You do receive a confirmation email that you've actually successfully opted out. So we're going to show you that in here in just a moment. But I just wanted to mention that there is sort of a timing. It could be that the bill was already generated before you happen to actually opt out. So just keep that in mind. So in terms of opting out, what you'd first want to do is navigate to this particular website that we're showing here right now. It's umaine.edu/Bursar. That's again BURSAR/insurance. That will lead you directly to this page, which provides you a lot of the same information that Sam just mentioned here to us, including the cost and some of the dates. And it also lets you know that it's through Gallagher Health. But you'll notice that there is an online waiver process link. So that's the one that you're going to want to click on if you are indeed trying to opt out. So we'll go ahead and do that. And what that'll do is bring you to this external site that is linked, as you can see, for the University of Maine System students. You would then click on the login and actually log in with your same Main Street user ID information. Once you've done that, it'll bring you to your personal sort of dashboard with a few different boxes for your account, and you'll have two different buttons. There'll be an enroll option and a waive option. So you can go ahead and click on that waive button, and it will then ask you for some of your insurance information, the policy ID, the company that you have insurance through, and their contact information, I believe, the insurance address and insurance phone number. All that information should be on the back of your actual insurance card. So you would just type in that information and submit it, and that would be it. It'll bring you to a successful, confirmation page that you've opted out, and as I mentioned, you then get a follow-up email. Yeah, I think that takes us through that process. Go ahead.
Quick question to either Sam or Simon. Is this a one and done process, or will this have to be done every academic year? Will students and families have to waive out of this process every year?
Every year.
Every year.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
So that's something definitely to keep on your radar. In addition to having to apply for financial aid every year, you're going to want to make sure you also go through this health insurance waiver every year that you plan on doing it. So, Simon, I think we are ready to head into our question to answer part. And Sam, you're actually going to stick around and help us out with some billing questions if we get them.
Absolutely.
So we have our first question from YouTube. Can you pay monthly for insurance instead of using student loans to cover it? Sam, you want to start us off with an answer for that?
Sure. So the student insurance is billed straight to your student account. So it would be part of your overall bill where you can set up an installment payment plan if that's, the only thing you have left to pay, or if you have more tuition and fees with that as well, you can roll the whole balance into an installment payment plan. We do offer a few of them, a 4 payment and a 5 payment plan. So yes, to answer your question, you could pay monthly with that.
And how do folks enroll in those installment payment plans?
So there's instructions on the website on how to enroll, but it's basically right through your Main Street portal.
Oh, great, awesome.
And
Yeah,
just
so
to
that.
throw
Oh.
in a plug here, we did have an entire episode talking about not just that, a few other items, but where we went in detail on the different payment plan options. That was our previous episode. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and take a look. It's on our website there. And also, if you really wanted to, you could theoretically, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sam, but you could set it up so that you could calculate how much aid you need, so that the resulting balance is effectively your insurance, the 2264, let's say, and then set
Sure.
that up as a payment plan. So it isn't an all or nothing, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You don't have to set up a payment plan for the entire balance. If you have other aid, or you want to make a partial immediate payment and then set up a payment plan, there are lots of different options.
Correct. Yes, that's right.
All right, we have another question here. Will tuition and room and board charges, will they be billed to the account? Jess?
Yeah, so the first thing I want to do is start off by saying this reminder that we bill per semester. So we have 2 semesters in an academic year. We've got our fall semester and our spring semester. So each semester you will be billed for the tuition and fees, tuition and mandatory fees, and any course-related fees as well for the courses that you're enrolled for that semester. And then in addition, you'll also be charged your room and board, so the charges for your residence hall, on-campus residence hall, and meal plan if you are getting a meal plan. Again, you get charged each semester. So for the room and board portion, if you're looking at the academic year expenses, just keep in mind that half of those expenses get charged in the fall and the other half get charged in the spring. Okay, so we have another question here. If I work on campus, will my paycheck go into the direct deposit that you showed us how to set up? Oh, that's a really great question. Simon, you want to start us off with that one?
Sure. So there are, in fact, 2 different, for folks who are actually working on campus, 2 different direct deposit accounts that you end up setting up. One is the one that we've mentioned here today, which is the one directly in your Main Street, and it's for your actual sort of academic related charges, minus your aid and everything that we've already discussed here. So if you had, more aid than you have in charges, you'd have a refund, and that's where that refund would go through, that direct deposit. When you're working on campus, whether it's a federal work-study position or a non-work study position, the Student Employment Office have you set up, well, for those that elect to do so, a direct deposit. So you can actually set that up through them. What's important to note is that it's not, you don't have to do one out of the 2 and it works for both. They are each in fact separate. So if you only do the one for Main Street and you're working on campus, you'll be getting actual physical checks here in Wingate Hall, where student employment lives. So you do want to make sure, if that's your plan and you're planning on working on campus and you want to take advantage of direct deposit, which we certainly would encourage you to do so, you'll want to make sure to set up both of those.
And one little additional piece with that, with the student employment piece, don't worry about having to get that set up ahead of time. When you actually get a position, there's going to be some initial paperwork that you'll need to complete. And you'll actually be completing that with your employer. And then you'll be provided some additional information about how to enroll in that direct deposit, which is an online process. So you will be able to do that virtually. So awesome. Okay. Simon, you want to take this next question?
Let's see, what do we have here? Will I get a letter in the mail with my billing information? Why don't we toss that over to Sam? Sam, are they going to get a letter?
What kind of letter?
I
I
think they're
mean,
asking
we
about the
do.
actual bill, yeah, with the charges.
Okay, yeah, exactly. So we do send out one paper bill per semester. So that will be your initial bill. That will go out to the mailing address that you have on file with us. After that, any updates to your bill, so if you happen to add a class or drop a class, or more aid comes onto your account, those subsequent bills will all be updated electronically through your Main Street account. And you will get a notification when those are available for you.
And that actually ties into something that Jess, you and I have mentioned before, the importance of monitoring your Main Street account, because it's not only enrollment changes or changes to charges on your account, but if there are any charges or changes rather to your aid, let's say you get a scholarship and you send us the check in after you've already received that paper bill that Sam's talking about there. Those changes will be made electronically, but you're not going to get an update to the bill that you already received through the mail. So it's certainly important that you stay up to date and take advantage of all the information that's in your Main Street account.
And also up to date. Oh, sorry, Jess.
Oh, no, you're
I
all
was
right.
just going to remind everyone to make sure that your billing address is up to date on your Main Street account, because if you don't have the correct address, then you may not receive the bill in the first place. We want you to receive those. So.
Absolutely. And I think making sure all of your information, your mailing information, contact information is all up to date in Main Street is definitely something folks should be checking regularly. Okay. I think we're ready for our next question here. Should I put the financial aid I got from the admissions office and from the FAFSA on anticipated resources in Main Street? Sam, do you want to go ahead and start us off with that one, and then maybe Simon, you can jump in?
Sure. I would say no, don't report that kind of aid. Typically, that would show as pending on your Main Street account, which means that we already know that that's coming, and it would show on your bill as pending until it's dispersed.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And to be honest, sometimes folks will take a look at their account and maybe they're not seeing certain aid that they know they've been awarded. Usually it's through the Office of Admissions, let's say. So, an admissions-based scholarship. We actually internally have a process that looks for students who have that award. They've been admitted to UMaine, and they have a merit or admissions-based award, and it has not yet been posted to their account. We have a process that automatically picks those students up and posts that to their account. So generally, that information the system will know about. Even if you can't immediately see it, within a couple of weeks it'll be posted, and it'll be, as Sam said, listed as pending aid. So really, the anticipated resources would be for things that are external. They're not already sort of built into the Main Street account. So those alternative loans that you're going through a third-party lender and applying for, so it's not automatically, our system doesn't know, Main Street doesn't know that that's incoming quite yet, or those external scholarships, maybe you received that notification letter in the mail. So it's sort of letting us know about those external sources of aid rather than the ones that are built in through our institution. All right, let's take a look at the next question here. When are fall bills due? I'm actually going to pass this over to Sam.
Sure. This year, fall bills are due on September 15th.
Great. And so, Sam, can you just explain what happens if a bill isn't paid by that September 15th deadline?
Sure. So if bills aren't paid by the due date, usually within 30 days of the due date, there will be a late fee assessed to the account.
Great. And so I do just want to make sure folks are aware. So if you did watch our last episode about additional financing options, that's one of the reasons why you really want to get started if you're planning on borrowing an additional loan, or if you're looking at installment payment plan options. You really want to start thinking about making decisions about those, I would say, in the next couple weeks. So again, you can be as prepared as possible for that September 15th deadline, and you can make sure that you've applied for those loans or you've enrolled in those installment payment plans well before that September 15th bill deadline.
Right. And just to clarify, so your bill doesn't necessarily have to be paid in full by the 15th. If you have a payment plan set up and you set that up before the 15th, then that that kind of meets that requirement, knowing that you're going to be making payments throughout the next couple of months. And obviously, if you are reporting anticipated resources, and we know about that, then you can avoid a late fee as well while you're waiting for those funds to come into your account.
Great, that's really helpful information, I think. So we'll go ahead. We have another question here from YouTube. When will the billing information for this fall semester be on the account? And then the second part of that question is also, will the scholarships be on the account as well?
Sure.
Sam, can you go ahead and take that one for us?
Sure. So we're hoping to have fall charges displayed on the accounts sometime next week. And I believe at that time, if you reported your scholarship, then perhaps it's showing as pending aid. Maybe one of you guys can answer that one a little bit better than I can.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of outside scholarships, if you have sent us those letters of the awards of outside scholarships that you received, or if you've reported on your outside aid section under your accept and decline awards screen in Main Street, and then the next process is we actually post that to your financial aid award as an expected outside scholarship. So when that expected outside scholarship is showing on your financial aid award, then it will show as anticipated aid on that bill.
And if I may just add a second thought here to this one.
Absolutely.
So some of you, and it really, many of these things that we're talking about are very student specific, right? Each individual student's account will look different from another student's. So if you're looking at your account and you maybe don't see any aid information, I'm going to say certainly reach out to us. There are a multitude of ways of reaching out to our office. Take a look at your to-do list though and see, are we asking for additional tax documents? Were you selected for the verification process, which is a process where we would be through the federal regulations, we're asking for additional tax documentation to verify the information that was in your FAFSA. That process can delay or will delay until it's completed you actually receiving a financial aid award. So I just wanted to sort of put a little plug here that if you find yourself in that situation, reach out to us via email. We have folks leave us a voicemail. We have folks calling people back. We also can schedule a Zoom advising session if your particular situation is one you'd prefer to discuss over Zoom. So I just wanted to mention that as well.
Absolutely. And just a little clarification for our viewers out there. I know we just threw around that term outside scholarship. So these are scholarships not awarded by the university. So these would be, scholarships that you maybe applied through your high school or other outside organizations. So those are what we call outside scholarships, and those are required to be reported to us. Again, so that we can actually put them on your financial aid award as expected financial assistance that you're receiving. So we'll go ahead and jump into this next question here. Looks like a Facebook viewer is wondering, do we only claim our scholarships and such on the anticipated resources section in Main Street? Simon, can you actually go ahead and take that one for us?
I would love to do so. So with, as Jess just talked about, those outside scholarships from other external organizations, it could be local clubs and organizations in your area, it could be scholarships that you've received from your high school, for example. Those are actually reported to us, and the method of doing that, and you can find this information on our website if you're interested in that, but there's on your Main Street account, if once you go into the student center, on the left hand side in those links you have a accept or / decline awards. That screen not only does what it says it does and allows you to actually accept or decline awards that are already posted to your account, it also has a few other pages sort of built into it. One of them is selecting your housing option if you haven't reported, or if you'd like to, if you did report what your preference is for housing on your FAFSA, but you want to change it or make an update, that's there, as well as reporting outside scholarships. So in that section, that accept, decline awards, there's a link on one of the pages that says report outside aid or report outside scholarships. I can't recall what the wording is there. So that would be where you would want to let us know about those, in addition to actually sending us a copy of that notification letter, so that, as Jess said, we can go ahead and post that as an expected source of aid.
And I do just want to take a moment and pause, because this is where it can get a little confusing with the Main Street requirements. And I mean, even for some of us seasoned financial aid folks, it can get a little confusing. So the reporting outside aid, that's you're reporting any outside assistance like scholarships or things like that to the financial aid office, so we can adjust your financial aid award. The anticipated resources section, that is where you're reporting that any expected outside assistance that is not yet on the financial aid award to the bursar's office. So that's how I like to keep it straight in my mind, is the reporting outside aid through the financial aid award goes to the financial aid office, and anticipated resources goes to the bursar's office.
Thank you for that clarification, because I certainly jumble them myself. So if you are at home wondering, that hopefully that helped you right there. All right, let's shift into the next question here from Facebook, and thank you. Should I send the letters for outside scholarships right to the financial aid office email or by mail? Jess, how should they send those to us?
That's a great question. So we actually have a secure document upload located right on our website, and so that is umaine.edu/stuaid/upload, and that'll bring you right to our secure document upload. So literally all you'll have to do is make sure your student ID is written right on top of that scholarship letter. You can snap a picture of it, or you can scan it in, and you can just drag it right into that secure document upload, and it will get right to us. We recommend, if you can't use that secure document upload, since that does have student specific information on those letters, then mailing it is probably going to be the best second option to get it to us. Okay, so it looks like we have another question from YouTube here. If the parent was given access to the student's financial information, can the parent set up the payment plan, or does the student have to do it? Sam, can you go ahead and start us off with that one?
Sure. So the parent can be set up as an authorized user. The student can actually do that. And then through the authorized user, they have their own login, and they can set up a payment plan for the student. They can view the bill there, they can view the charges, and they can set up a payment plan and make payments through that.
Great, okay. So our next question here is from another YouTube question. Should I add a 529 plan as expected aid? Yes. Sam, you want to go ahead and take that one?
Yes, you should. We consider that as anticipated aid or anticipated funding that would come in likely after the bill is due. So letting us know that you have a 529 plan paying on your bill, that's the right place to do that, is right into anticipated resources.
And Sam, actually, can you speak a little bit more about the 529 plans and in terms of the process and what folks need to do in order to initiate that process and get those payments to you over there in the Bursar's office?
Sure. So typically parents will, or students will contact their 529 plan and let them know what their balance, what their bill is, or what they'd like that plan to send. And then the 529 plan account would, usually they send a check directly to the Bursar's office for the student's account to be paid on.
Excellent. All right. So let's take a look. We have another question from YouTube, and thank you to everyone who's posting these questions. I love to see this, so keep them coming. Do we have to submit letters, or is it enough to put it on report outside aid? I believe they're talking about the scholarship notification letters. Jess, what should they do?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I definitely recommend, so definitely just reporting it on outside aid is okay, because that's going to give us the notification so we can post it on the financial aid award as expected. One of the main reasons why I highly recommend you send us a copy of the letters is because sometimes there's additional information that needs to be sent to the scholarship organizations in order for them to actually send us the scholarship funds. Now, sometimes it may be that they need a transcript or enrollment verification. in which case really the student is responsible for getting those items to the scholarship organization. However, in some cases, those scholarship donors are requesting billing information or invoicing. In those cases, we actually take care of that piece for the student. So that's why it's important for us to actually have that a copy of those letters so we can actually complete that process so that those funds can get to us. Okay, so it looks like we have a question here from Facebook. Where do we email the scholarship letters again? Simon, can you go ahead and clarify that for us?
I would love to do so. So we actually prefer, if possible, that folks, if you have that letter, in an electronic form, that you actually use our secure upload tool. So again, the web address for that is umaine.edu/stuaid. That's STUAID /upload. That'll take you to a page where you can actually drag and drop the file or hit the little button that says browse for your file and select your letter. It'll ask you a few pieces of information, the name of the student that it's for and the email address and what have you, and then you'll be able to actually upload that. So that is, it's encrypted, it's secure, because some of those letters, as Jess mentioned, have some student-specific information on them. So we would prefer if you, submitted them to us by using that utility. Excellent question. All right, another YouTube question here. If we are getting the 529 check ourselves, do we have to report that as anticipated resources? Sam, what do you guys recommend?
I would say you don't have to if you're going to be getting the check to us or you're going to be cashing that check and then, sending your own check in. As long as you're doing that by the due date, then you don't have to report it as anticipated aid or anticipated resources. But if you don't feel that you'll be able to get that payment to us by the due date, then definitely do that to help avoid getting late fees so that we know that you have something coming to make the bill paid.
Great, thank you for that answer, Sam. So we have another question here. If you have a spring scholarship, do you wait until the spring to report it? Simon, can you go ahead and answer that one for us?
I would love to, and I gotta say I love that question. Do you know why I love that question, Jess?
Why do you love it, Simon?
I love that question because it shows that people are already thinking ahead, thinking into the future, and planning what they're going to do for their spring semester. They have a spring award and they're thinking about it already, so that's wonderful. We would recommend reporting that to us now, and as you saw, you can actually select the term that it's for, the term that you're actually reporting your anticipated resources for and what have you. And send us, if you can, again, as Jess mentioned, for the reasons that she mentioned, a copy of the notification letter, because on that it will indicate to us that it is in fact a spring-only scholarship, and we can go ahead and post that as an expected outside scholarship to the student's account specifically for the spring. So in fact, it would show up as pending aid anyway, so you wouldn't even have to necessarily do the anticipated resources. But yes, I would recommend taking care of that. The earlier, the better. Really, I would say that that's the rule of thumb for all of your plans for aid or for how you're going to pay the bill or for any of that. The sooner the better, and that way you can get everything sort of logistically planned out. All right, next question here. What does the insurance cover? Now, I imagine that we won't be able to go into the specifics, each copay, each amount, but Sam, what does that insurance actually cover?
I would honestly advise them to check out the Bursar's office webpage under the insurance link. There's a link to the Gallagher Health there that has full plan information, coverage, what the copay would be, and if you're an out-of-state student, what that covers in Maine for you and that kind of thing.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you for that answer.
Great. Okay, so looks like we have another question here. What happens if I change my classes after I get my first bill? Sam, you want to start us off on that answer?
Sure. I would say that probably happens for the majority of the students here. They register and then they make changes. and the bill will change when you make a change. I would just say to keep your eye on your Main Street account while you're making those changes, because you'll see the addition or the reduction to tuition and fees. Like I said before, there won't be another physical bill that goes out to you after the initial bill, but for every change, there'll be a new bill electronically submitted for you to be able to review.
And what I'll just add into that is, really get in the habit of checking that Main Street account often. I recommend at least weekly. What I usually compare it to folks is like online banking. You're checking your online bank to make sure your purchases have gone through or payments have gone through. Really get in the habit, just like with your Main Street account. You want to make sure you're checking to see if charges have come off or gone on, or financial aid has gone on. So it's really it's good to get into that habit right now, because that'll definitely be a useful thing for you to be doing throughout your entire career here at UMaine.
And also, as a quick follow-up to that, the other important factor to consider when you're looking at enrollment changes is two things. One, if you're you're dropping a class and adding a class, they may not necessarily, if the class that you're adding, for example, has a class-specific course fee. Some of them do. Some engineering classes, for example, have course fees. So there may be a difference there in the fees for the classes. The other thing to consider, though, is if you make an enrollment change and you go, let's say, from 15 credits down to 12, there could be potentially an adjustment to your aid from a process called proration. And for those of you that may not have be familiar with that process, we did go into detail on it on a previous episode, our panel episode. But to give you the highlights, some aid items are reduced if a student goes below 15 credits. Now, that may or may not affect you as much as you might think, because you also want to take into consideration the reduction in credits. So if you're dropping from 15 to 12, you're less 3 credits in terms of your charges, and so the reduction in your aid may not necessarily match that amount. So it's just something to keep in mind.
And Simon, how can students actually report to us that if they know they're only going to be taking 12 credits already for the fall semester, or they know they're going to be less than 15 credits? Is there a way for them to let us know so that those adjustments can be made before the semester even starts?
There sure is, and in fact, it's, correct me if I'm wrong here, Jess, but it's in the spot that I had mentioned earlier through the accept decline awards. You can actually report to us your intended enrollment level. So if you know ahead of time that, let's say, this coming spring semester, you're planning on only taking 9 credits, you're going to be a 3/4 time student, you can let us know ahead of time, and that way we can make those adjustments and you can see the effect that it'll have on your financial aid directly on your account after those adjustments have been made.
In fact, I would highly recommend you do that reporting to us as soon as you have finalized and you know for sure what your course load is going to be each semester. Okay, so we've got another question here. If I am currently covered by insurance but want to switch to SHIP, the student health insurance, later, can I do that? Is there an enrollment window? Sam, can you take that one for us?
Sure. So up until October 1st, you can likely, I guess, report that you have insurance through your parents or what have you, and then decide to enroll in SHIP because you're within that time frame. After October 1st, you would have to show proof of a life change that caused the loss of coverage to be able to join SHIP. And at that point, there would be no proration, so you'd still be charged, for the annual. You'd still be charged the $2,264, even if you joined, say, in November. So that, that's not the best, but you can, if you have a life-changing event that causes a loss of coverage that you had prior, that you reported prior.
Okay, excellent. Next question here from YouTube. If someone takes 12 credits in the spring and then plans on making up 3 in the summer, does that affect aid? What a wonderful question. Jess, how about I pass this one over to you?
It is a really great question, and actually a scenario that we see pretty often.
sure do.
here. So what would happen is you would report to us that you are going to be 12 credits, less than 15 credits for the spring semester, and we would adjust the financial aid. Now, the most common types of aid that we do this proration process for would be any merit scholarships. So that is, any scholarships you receive from the admissions office, as well as institutional grants. Things like federal supplemental grant. What else is there, Simon, that we prorate?
Well, the federal Pell Grant is not really a proration, but it is adjusted by enrollment level.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that
the University of Maine Black Bear Grant, that's another item. Racino Grant, if you received that, those are some common types of aid that we prorate in those adjustments for students who are still full time but less than 15 credits. So we would adjust that spring aid. And then if you do take classes over the summer, what is available to you is actually that difference, that amount that we reduced in that prorated aid to help cover your tuition and fees for those courses, those credits that you're taking over the summer. Now, summer financial aid works a little bit differently than the academic year. And so looking way ahead to next summer, what you'll want to do is contact our office, because to initiate financial aid for the summer term, you actually start by having a conversation with a financial aid advisor, and then we figure out what your eligibility is. So again, if your aid is prorated at any time during the academic year, if we have to make adjustments because you are less than 15 credits, you can use, you have that as eligibility to use the amount we reduced during the summer to help with the tuition and fee charges for any credits taken. Okay, so looks like we have a question from Facebook here. How do I report my course load? And I am anticipating only 13 credits for the fall semester. Simon, can you go ahead and go through that process for us?
Absolutely. So what you would do is log into your Main Street account and go into the student self-service and into the student center page. That's the page where you can see your account balance in the middle. If you're registered for classes, you'd see your class schedule in the upper middle section. You can also see your to-do list, so that sort of central dashboard page. On the left-hand side, you have several links, one of which is accept/decline awards. In that, if it's the first time that you're clicking on that link, it'll actually walk you through one page at a time through all of the different options that are in that area. So it is accepting and declining awards, housing, reporting your housing or any changes to your housing plan, reporting changes or intended enrollment levels, and options for reporting outside aid. If you've already been in there to do one of those items and you go back in, then you get the option to actually select specifically the section that you want. So really you would want to go into that accept decline awards link and get to the enrollment page where you can actually tell us, oh yeah, in the fall I'm going to be 13 credits and in the spring I'm planning on taking 15 or whatever the case may be. All right, excellent question. Thank you for that. Next up here, if I want to change my direct deposit account, how quickly will the changes take effect? Sam?
Sure. So you can modify your direct deposit in the same place that you enroll. There's just a different option there for modifying. The change will take effect immediately, so you'll essentially close the account that you had originally set up, and you would modify to a new or change the account or what have you. However, if we've already tried to issue a direct deposit refund to an account that you then realize is a bad account, or you close that account, usually what will happen is that your bank will reject it. The account doesn't exist, or if the account number was wrong, it'll get sent back to us, and then we would reissue that refund to the new account that you've set up. So making the change is immediate, but if we've already tried to issue a refund to an invalid account, it does take a couple of days for that to be returned to us, and then for us to issue a refund to you.
Great, thanks for that, Sam. So, looks like we have another question here. How will I get my outside scholarships? Simon, you want to take that one?
Absolutely. So to be honest, that depends on the scholarship. Some of them will indicate, or well, they may or may not, depends on the notification letter, I suppose, but some of the scholarship checks will be sent directly to the student. So you'll receive that, and then you'll be able to send that in to us, or provide that to our office so that we can go ahead and actually process that check. Sometimes it's just the notification letter, and the check is sent directly to us. It really depends on the scholarship. So you can certainly inquire if it's through a third party, external organization, a local organization, or your high school, how that will be provided to you. As I mentioned, sometimes it's actually indicated in the notification award letter that it's being sent directly to us. So it really depends.
And then Simon, just a follow-up for that, for outside scholarships, for example, can folks use those to buy books?
Oh, excellent. So yes, generally what we would what we typically see is that folks will have that pass through our office. It's loaded as aid onto the account, and then if there's an excess of aid that outweighs the charges on the account, the student will get that refund, and that refund can then be used towards books. So it really depends on the scholarship, though. If a student has received, I've seen some situations where a student receives the check and cashes it, so then that money could theoretically be used towards books, but we do want to know about that scholarship and have that reported to us.
Great, thanks so much for that, Simon. So, Simon, Sam, I think we've reached the end of our episode. Before we say goodbye, Sam, can you just give us some information about how folks can contact the Bursar's office if they have any questions about the bill or anything that we've talked about today?
Sure. So they can definitely give us a call. Our phone number, I think, is definitely listed on our webpage. They can definitely send us an email as well. We're responding to both. Either a phone call or an email.
Great, wonderful. And as always, you can always contact our office, the Student Financial Aid Office, via email. You can leave us a voicemail. Also, Simon, I'm going to put a plug in for our orientation Zoom advising.
Please.
We are still taking appointments. So go ahead and book an appointment. You can talk one-on-one with a financial aid advisor just to go over your whole financial aid, make sure that you are on the track to be all set financial aid-wise for the fall. So, with that, thank you everybody for joining us, and we hope you have a fabulous week, and we will see you next week.
Good night,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye.